period of admission, where they either pay or lose the chance at further education. We're not stopping there. The no-fee stress policy is intrinsically linked to our broader student loan plus policy, which will ensure that no student is left behind in subsequent years of study. Under this policy, students from low-income households will have access to flexible and dignified financing options to complete their tertiary education without the burden of unbearable debt or financial uncertainty. The implementation of the free tertiary education policy for persons with disability has commenced, removing a key barrier to higher learning and affirming our belief that education must be a right and not a privilege for every Ghanaian, regardless of their physical ability. To give life to our commitment to foster a knowledge-based economy, we've established the Ghana National Research Fund with an initial allocation of 50 million cedis. This is a step towards deepening research and innovation across all sectors: science, technology, humanities, and the arts. For far too long, much of the research conducted by our brilliant academics has been funded by foreign institutions, with the unfortunate outcome that the intellectual property and findings are often owned abroad. With this fund, we will slowly but certainly reverse that narrative by empowering our own researchers and ensuring that Ghana owns the knowledge and innovations produced by its intellectuals. As part of our commitment to research excellence, we offer dignity. We have distributed over 6 million sanitary pads to our girl children in primary and secondary schools to keep them in school and help them end period poverty. Contrary to the widespread misinformation that was circulated before December 7, 2024, the free SHS policy has not only been maintained, indeed it has been strengthened. We've made the highest budgetary allocation in the history of the policy, as at now. A staggering 3.5 billion Ghana cedis has been dedicated to the free SHS. We understand that access without quality is inadequate, and that's why we're implementing the decentralization of feeding policy to allow the management of schools to make their own feeding arrangements to provide students with quality meals. Our commitment to foundational learning is equally strong. Basic education has received its highest budget allocation in almost a decade, reflecting our determination to rebuild the educational ladder from the ground up, with 564.6 million allocated so far for textbooks. We are addressing long-standing challenges in the system, particularly those caused by the reduced funding of the recent past. Fellow countrymen and women, we've also turned our attention with equal urgency to the health and well-being of our people. In 2025 alone, the national health budget increased by 13.4%, rising from 15.6 billion Ghana cedis to 17.8 billion cedis, one of the most significant increases in recent years. This bold step reflects our recognition of the urgent need to strengthen Ghana's healthcare system in the face of both domestic demands and global health risks. We've uncapped the NHIL and made 66% increase in funding to the National Health Insurance Scheme from 5.9 billion Ghana cedis to 9.8 billion Ghana cedis in 2025. This is not just a budget line, it's a life-saving commitment. These funds will help expand coverage, improve claims processing, and ensure that every Ghanaian, especially the poor and vulnerable, has access to affordable quality health care. The sudden withdrawal of $156 million in US aid health support, which previously sustained critical programs in malaria, HIV and AIDS, and child health, presented a serious fiscal and public health challenge. In response, we have readjusted our domestic expenditure priorities and ensured that the domestic safety nets are provided to cover the gap that occurred. To further bridge access gaps and enhance service delivery, government is investing over 2 billion Ghana cedis in healthcare infrastructure between now and 2028. This includes an initial 200 million cedis allocation in the 2025 budget to accelerate construction, expansion, and modernization of hospitals, clinics, and health centers nationwide. Whether in remote rural communities or high-density urban centers, our aim is the same: a health facility within reach of every Ghanaian. Cabinet is awaiting a report from the Honorable Minister of Health on the status and stage of completion of the Agenda 111 hospitals to determine a way forward for their completion. Our approach to economic management goes beyond improving the macroeconomic indicators. It's about making the Ghanaian household feel the impact in their everyday lives. As the popular saying goes, the real economy is not in statistics, but in the pockets of the people. And that is why I take pride not only in the clear signs of recovery and stability, but in the direct relief Ghanaians are experiencing from our economic policies. Today we are seeing a stabilization in the price of goods and services, with inflation dropping significantly from 23.8% in December 2024 to 11.5% in July 2025, the lowest inflation rate recorded since December 2021. But this isn't just about numbers, it's about being felt across markets and homes. The prices of key commodities are falling, and for the first time in years, brands and businesses are actively advertising their price reductions, a sign that recovery is not only real but tangible. Official trade associations have presented data to Parliament that shows that up to 4,500 different items on the market have seen varied price reductions. We've stayed current with our bond repayment obligations. In a significant endorsement of Ghana's economic recovery efforts, global credit rating agencies, S&P Global Ratings, have upgraded Ghana's country credit risk from junk to B- with a stable outlook, reflecting renewed investor confidence and the positive momentum of Operation Recover All the Loot. Over 200 cases are under active investigation, with about 80 people interrogated so far. Several prosecutions have begun, progressing steadily and remaining firmly on course. In the Republic versus Edubwan and 3 others, the state has submitted witness statements together with all other documents, and trial has commenced. And the first of 3 prosecution witnesses have been called and have been cross-examined by counsel for the accused person. With the SkyTrain case, for instance, the prosecutors have secured a trial date, as all preliminary matters have been concluded and the trial is set to commence. For the National Service Authority case, due to its expansive nature, charges have been drafted and will be filed as soon as the legal year begins against the following person: the Republic versus Osei Sibe, the Republic versus Eric Nyako, the Republic versus Gifty Owari. Also for the National Cathedral, we are awaiting a forensic audit from the Auditor General. Additionally, charges have been drafted and are ready for filing in the case of Republic versus Wuntumi and Akuntamaini. The Economic and Organized Crime Office, IOCO, is finalizing its report with respect to Exim Bank transactions. Dockets are in preparation for the buffer stock case and the drip equipment case. Investigations are ongoing into the African Cup of Nations case, the Mart Set case, and approximately 20 other cases currently. Let me be clear, every single case of corruption that needs to be investigated is being looked into. And once evidence is found to ground the prosecution, that will happen and happen swiftly. Looking within, we launched a code of conduct for public officials with an insistence on strict compliance. A high-level working group has been inaugurated to draft a new anti-corruption strategy aimed at strengthening ethical governance and institutional coordination. My fellow citizens, the scourge of Galamsey is receiving much attention. We've established the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, NIMOS, as the Central Operations Command Center coordinating the national fight against illegal mining and its associated environmental degradation. In a coordinated effort across all security agencies and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, 440 excavators have been seized. Over 1,400 arrests have been made, with suspects awaiting prosecution. Over 300 Shamfang machines have been confiscated and destroyed. Over 900 water pumps seized from illegal mining sites have been handed over to the Ministry of Agriculture for distributing to farmers for irrigation purposes. Of Ghana's 288 forest reserves, 44 had previously suffered varying degrees of destruction from illegal mining. Notably, 9 of those reserves had become no-go zones due to the presence of armed groups. Through the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and with support from the security agencies, we've successfully repossessed all 9 of these red-zoned forest reserves. However, over the weekend, the Jimira Forest Reserve and the Anwia Futu section of the Offense Shelter Belt was re-invaded by illegal miners after these were handed back to the Forestry Commission. The military is currently working with NIMOS to repossess those reserves and establish a permanent presence in those liberated forest reserves to prevent re-incursion by illegal miners. 980 personnel have been recruited, trained and deployed in the western and savannah regions. They conduct daily operations on major river bodies, serving as community vanguards to ward off illegal mining activities. An additional 1,020 personnel will be recruited and deployed by the end of the year, bringing the total force to 2,000 blue water guards. The next phase will focus on dechemicalizing and restoring our water bodies to their pristine state. Feasibility studies for this critical restoration efforts are currently underway. In collaboration with the Ministry of Transport, the Ministry of Finance, credit rating agencies, S&P Global Ratings have upgraded Ghana's country credit risk from junk to B- with a stable outlook, reflecting renewed investor confidence and the positive momentum in economic management. To maintain this positive momentum of our economic recovery, we're increasing Ghana's productivity through bold job-creating initiatives, and one of the most transformative among them is our 24-hour economy initiative, a policy that is designed to boost micro and small and medium enterprise, modernize agriculture, and expand employment opportunities across key sectors. This initiative is not just about keeping the lights on longer, it is about unlocking new shifts of productivity, widening access to jobs, and building a resilient, inclusive economy that works for all.
Yeah, Sadique, you have the floor now.
Good evening, Mr. President, and thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Sadique Adams from Angel TV and Angel Radio. Mr. President, the question is on national unity and peace. There has been a recent spate in social media accounts created by unidentified people purported to be representing ethnic and tribal groups. We have seen some vile attacks, pockets of that on social media, TikTok, and some of them in real life. There has been a number of them, and we observe over 50 that has been set up particularly to attack and inflame ethnic passion and tribal issues. If your security agencies have taken notice of this, what are the measures being taken to ensure that our national unity and cohesion is protected by education and sensitization, as well as trying to put this in a context of not suppressing freedom of expression, as well as maintaining the national cohesion that we have because of these kinds of threats and attacks from social media on ethnic basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The last time the GJA came to me, I mentioned to them that as the world changes and new technologies come, we're moving from not having just the traditional media into having what we call the new media. These are all the new social media instruments like TikTok, like Facebook, like X, and all of them. And so the traditional sense of journalists like you, most of you trained and working in media houses that have a corporate identity and can be held responsible for the information that you put out, is beginning to change. We have a new crop of I'll call them neo-journalists, who anybody with a phone and a camera can report news or comment on national issues. Now, the point is, who holds those people responsible? And that's what he's saying. If you go to some of the WhatsApp platforms, or you go to some of the commentaries in the TikToks and others, we have what we call hate speech, incitement to violence. Those are criminal. Despite the fact that we have removed the criminal libel laws, there are some laws that make such people accountable. Because if we don't regulate that sector, it can lead this nation to war. There are some of the incendiary statements that have been made in the Boko situation that are fueling some of what is happening there, making people hate each other and see each other as enemies. It's been the same in the Gonja Brefo thing, some people fanning and inciting violence against each other. This falls in the ambit of the National Signals Bureau. And so the National Signals Bureau now has the technology to use your IP number and find you wherever you are. So I'm sending a signal to Ghanaians that we can find you those doing those hate speech and things. We'll use your IP number, we'll trace you. And when we trace you, we'll deal with you under the criminal code for inciting violence and disturbance of the peace. But I believe that beyond that, we must start making regulation for this new media because it's unregulated. And so anybody just takes a phone and says, oh, this plane crashed. I wish that so and so had been the one in the helicopter and had died, and dwarfs have eaten him in the forest. I mean, why would you say something like that? And so we need regulation for that new emerging media. But in the meantime, the National Signals Bureau has been given the full authority to track down people who do that kind of thing and bring them to be sanctioned under the criminal code.